guys, welcome. Been a crazy week. And I'm filming this video at 6 minutes to 1 a.m. and that's what happens when you don't plan your life correctly. I'm becoming a bit more comfortable being on camera, but do forgive me. Anyways, during the Reject the Finance Bill protest, I tweeted this. In this essay, I will detail and highlight how the middle class let the Maandamano movement of 2024 fail. I lay out the apathy, individualism, and ego that arises from a higher socio-economic class that injures the working masses. Further, I can admit it, I was a bit harsh. And the backlash I got was a bunch of privileged people telling me that the middle class doesn't exist in Kenya and that everyone is middle class. No, everyone is working class. Mind you, we went to Tides the next week. Watu wakiamka kwenda kupiga mboka, si tulikuwa Tides. My name is Natasha and I like to discuss. In this video, I shall examine the Kenyan socio-economic landscape through Auntie Boss, a popular Kenyan TV show. IMDb summarizes, Auntie Boss is a Kenyan comedy drama television series. It delves into the lives of domestic house helps in a fictional Taifa estate and the everyday drama as it revolves around the families they work for and activities within the neighborhood. It reflects the normal Kenyan culture about the relationships the house helps have with their bosses. The story also features a lifestyle of the high-class society in Kenya. In this video, I will showcase the already known dynamic that middle-class people are in denial of because y'all want to act aloof. This is going to be based off of season 1 because the dynamics are very clear already in the first season. I follow Nancy Birdsall's definition of the middle class. I define the middle class in the developing world to include people at or above the equivalent of $10 a day in 2005 and at or below the 95th percentile of the income distribution in their own country. This definition implies some absolute and global threshold, $10 a day, below which people are too poor to be middle class in any society in today's globally integrated economy, and some relative and local threshold, the 95th percentile of income or consumption, above which people are at least in their own society rich. This is from her paper, The Indispensable Middle Class in Developing Countries, or The Rich and the Rest, not the poor and the rest. The paper is very pro-middle class economics, if that interests you, and she explains why she picks this definition, and it's a long explanation, but it's basically about economic security within hard times, as well as the political ideas and incentives that come with this economic security. But a reason I agree with this specifically is because Kenya has people living beneath the poverty line. And one of the demographics that does live beneath the poverty line is domestic workers. And that is what we're going to be discussing today. Chapter 1, Afrophobia as a class indicator. In this chapter, I want to talk about first what it means to be classy. Already in the theme song, we have this line, Usinione sina class, naishi kama star. And clearly, we kind of see that working class people are always seen as classless. Like kama mseme ametoka ushago, kuna like kama dharau hapo. Like this scene in season 1 episode 7 when Shiro doesn't have enough money, so anajaribu kubagain kwa supermarket.
1850. Ati eburudia 1850 kwani ni nini hiyo iko na bei gumu hivyo? Qtex moja ni 500. Qtex moja 500. Mimi najua Qtex ni 50 bob. Kwa nini unataka kunibia? Unataka kuibia huyu mtoto mdogo? Kama una pesa si urudisha zingine, you're holding up the line, yeah?
So what does having class mean? And I theorize that in anti-black capitalism, having class is being as white as possible. And let's think about this clearly. The white man's burden that was used as an excuse to colonize Africa in the name of civilizing us meant they wanted us to become like them because African culture is poor and primitive according to them. This is how we think about people from shags, and in Nairobi, how we think about working class people, that they're simple and don't understand things. At this point, I will bring up industrialization. I believe deep in my heart that colonialism and I believe deep in my heart that colonialism and industrialization on a mass scale are intertwined. Like, that's literally what the Europeans came to do. And mind you, they only industrialized us because of the trade and because they wanted to live here. So they brought Europe to themselves. And I have a very complicated relationship with industrialization. I love some aspects, I hate some aspects. And I get both the capitalists and Marxists mad because I talk about all the sides of industrialization. I want to talk about the infantilization that exists with how industrialization was set out in post-colonial Africa. What were Nairobi being different comes from the fact that Nairobi was the industrialization hub. So you have Nairobi that is being westernized day by day, and then the rest of the country that is, yes, westernizing, but at a slower rate. And the middle class and upper class were born out of people from shags that moved to Nairobi hapo 70s to 80s. And at that time, wase walikuwa a few, and industrialization had just started, so everyone got jobs and got money. That meant colonizing your mind to the fullest, okay? And this was passed through the generations. So there's this gap that exists, and the poverty keeps widening because people stay behind. And it's so clear in how Vanessa speaks to Shiro. And I'm ongelesha kamtoto, like, have you had me, Shiro? Like when it's literally just a disconnect of lifestyles. It's not that they don't know how to understand. Like, that's, it's whatever. So another Afrophobic aspect is that they only speak Kiswahili when they talk to the house helps, never to their kids or to each other, just weeding out the Africanness generation by generation. And also spiritually, like Vanessa had such a visceral reaction to Silpi's pig oil remedy in episode 9.
Tutachukua spray tumpake mwili mzima.
Hapa kuna spray hapa.
Kunayo?
Ina inakuanga huko.
Bebe nyamaza baba.
Hii spray. Twende papa.
Wewe. Kimbele peleka kwenyu. Isi spray ya mwili.
Lakini si inanukaga vizuri na mimi nijipaka.
So, wewe tumia akili za zingine.
Baba, Kai. What's going on? Shironi mtoto.
Ni mafuta tu ya nguruwe tulikuwa tunampaka.
Ati mafuta ya nguruwe ya nini?
Nimesikia ameangaliwa na macho baya. Nikumkiga tu.
Si prosa. Hivi nini unaleta kwa nyumba yangu? Nisiai kuona karibu na mtoto wangu. Hebu toka.
Ole mama Kai. Tulikuwa tunajaribu kujua alikuwa analia sana.
Mtoto ni jino anatoa. Nyinyi akili zenu zote mbili mngefikiria hivyo. Hebu toka. Hata nimekasirika toka.
But also just showing the link between religion and capitalism, which is inherently anti-Black. The reason I think that this is Afrophobia is probably because they would have had a different reaction to someone praying in a Christian way for the baby. But regarding this, the richer you get, the more religion takes a back seat, especially in the way that people from shags or working class people practice it. It's very much looked down upon by people who deem themselves as educated or even religious middle class and upper class people that live in Nairobi. Chapter 2, lifestyles between the middle and the working class. So the first thing that we're going to analyze is the housing, okay? Because it really shows the difference. Because you guys like to act. Number 1 is housing. We get a glimpse of Silpi's house in season 1, episode 2. Early on, we see the difference of the house she lives and where she goes to work. And it's so upsetting to me and genuinely pisses me off to see middle-class people who live in bungalows or 2-story houses with a house help or maid talking about how they are working class. Like, babe, working class people don't have maids. Working class people are in the areas that got shot up by the police during the protests. Even in Rongai, the place the police were at and shooting is not where the middle class live. It's where the working class lived and work. It's where the Mamambogas and Kondas live. And the show depicts different realities. These different realities. We live in neighborhoods that deliberately separate us into our socio-economic classes for the most part. Even though there is this phenomenon in capitalism that shows how poverty exists right next to wealth, like, for example, Global North and the Global South, Parklands and Gara, Karen and Kibera, Kawangware and Lavington. And I also want us to think about how these names are African and then Western. Parklands Ngara, Karen Kibera, Lavington Kawangware. Because when you look at the history of Nairobi, low-income neighborhoods were for the Africans. And they wanted to be away from, the poors, the Africans, the Negroes. The show showed in that episode when they showed a glimpse of Silpi's life, how working class people live. This is how domestic workers live. Going into my number 2, the relationship with money. Househelps earn around 6 to 10K a month in middle-class households. Mind you, they have family members they send back home to. There is no social mobility possible.
Hello? Kwega maitu. Nitatuma pesa tu sahi. Nipe tu dakika 2. Sawa, mama. Sawa. Sasa. Amos.
Yeah.
Uko na pesa kwa simu unisabazie haki. Haki sijaripwa, nitumie tu mama yangu.
This is in episode 6, editing Natasha. And even in upper class, it's 30 to 50K that they earn, but middle class people will earn 100K upwards each month. I want us to understand that at a large scale, we participate in modern day slavery. And I obviously understand that there's not enough money to pay domestic workers more, but the thing that I find that is very apparent in the show is the mental security that exists within the middle class. Like in episode 2, which is literally so anxiety inducing. I remember watching it as a kid and feeling so bad for Shiro, because Shiro lets all of Vanessa's household appliances, like literally her whole house, cleared through by some scammers, like some thieves. And literally Vanessa is just like, insurance will pay for it, like no biggie, right? But I was just imagining how that would be a disaster for a working class person. Like, that would be so upsetting and actual mental anguish, because where do you start? Like, where do you start? And they wanted to fire Cosmas. Like, even though Vanessa didn't really care, and I don't know, I just like, it rubs me the wrong way to have him fired when the owner of the staff is like fine. And that's something that I'd noticed about the employers. They would complain about like broken plates, ama like miyamoja. Like, what? Like, Baba Brian did not trust Silpi at all, but it's like low-key not that deep, like for real. Like, that 500, like, it's not that deep. I just think that it shows this scarcity mindset that and mistrust that capitalism produces, Chapter 3, we're going to talk about class solidarity. So, and by this, I don't only mean the positives of unity within the working class, but also the negative aspects that arise in all the socioeconomic classes that result of differing socioeconomic classes. Let's start with the upper classes. There's a way that they do things. As highlighted before, right? Like speaking Kiswahili only when talking to working class people. But I want to also highlight here that how the children also act. That because the children are part of the same class as their parents, there's a way that they act, and there's mannerisms that they adopt. I don't know, but like growing up, my mom would never like let us boss around our aunties. Like, But in episode 5, Jojo asks Silpi to mix her a smoothie. Honey, that would have never flown in my house. That would have never flown in my house. But in this neighborhood, everyone kind of treats their house helps like a personal butler. Mind you, you're not even paying a livable wage. But this just gets passed down through the generations, that when you pay someone, that they owe you servitude and you don't have to treat them with respect. Because literally Brian gets caught smoking by Silpi and then he threatens to get her fired because she was selling their food to feed her family. Feed her family. There's such an uncomfortable hierarchy that children understand and adopt. It's creating this class divide. They're the help and we are us, you know. They're, you know what I'm saying? There's a hierarchy that exists that children start to adopt within themselves. For the working class, we all know that house helps and wochis get along. Like even in Real Housewives of Kangware, the house helps are friends with the watchmen. But RHOK is very interesting because the class divide is not as big as in Auntie Boss. So the employers are like low-key on the same vibe. So they're friends and they respect each other. So it's very different. And also village, like Shiro alikuwa kwa supermarket in episode 8, an episode I already referenced, the cashier was so nice and understanding to her, while the woman who was shopping was so rude. So there's this class solidarity that exists within working classes, within middle classes, and a superiority complex within middle class and upper classes. Anyways, another way that class solidarity shows up is just shady dealings within the working class. Like everyone's just helping each other steal from their employers. There's secret photo shoots. There's letting Cosmas be a fake real estate agent, like keeping each other's secrets. And they gossip about their employers a lot. For me, it always just kind of reminds me, in my opinion, that no matter how much they might like you, like your auntie's loyalty lies with her family and counterparts. Like, and it's completely valid. Like, you're just a job, like, you know. And it's hard. Yeah, it's something that I just like. That's how I think about it. In general, because domestic work is done through hierarchy, there remains a class divide. Even though on paper, if you look at the situation, like, think about it. You live with someone. They know everything about you. They're like literally your family. In episode 7, Vanessa doesn't want to hug Shiro. The woman that raises her child. Okay. Like, it's so odd to me because I remember I used to have so many questions for the house helps we had. Like, some were more open than others. Some were mean to me. I was also a kid, so sometimes I'm sure I was like annoying. We stopped having house helps once we got older, and I remember the last auntie was like literally my friend. Like, this was my babe. This is my babe. I was so interested in her life, her children, like how she got where she was. In my memory, she is so sweet, and I really felt like she was family. And maybe she didn't think of me the same way, but I remember when she texted me that she wasn't coming back, I was so devastated. Like, I think this video in general is just an ode to the women that raised community, and trying to show the different dynamics that exist within that. We profit off of working class women's labor. Like, I, as a middle class woman, had the time to go to school, and remember, she would wake up with my mom and I to make breakfast. And that is me profiting off of a less privileged person's labor. I also want to highlight parts of domestic work that are normalized that we don't realize are really odd. Like, I was watching and I was like, huh? For example, in episode 2, Phoebe's like interviewing new house helps at the bureau.
Naitwa Christine, nimetoka Sumbukia. Na nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, uko na bwana?
Tell me your experience.
Experience ninayo. Nimefanya Huruma, nimefanya Babadi na Lakisama. Na kutu kwingi. Huko kwako mtu analalanga saa ngapi?
Saa 5, ukishamaliza job.
Ai, saa 5. Mimi nalalaga saa 2 na namkanga 6:30. Siwezi lala chini ya 8 hours. Si unajua? Afya mtu ni important.
Next.
Huyo mndozi hakuanga akidilipa. Tena alikuwa ananifanyisha kazi ya wana, kusugua madirisha na gazeti kila wiki. Tena unafikiria mimi ni mchache? Tulipelekana.
kitu nataka keep in mind, sifanyangi kikazi na maji baridi, niko allergic. Na kabla sijasahau, sipikangi chapati na off days zangu ni Friday hadi Monday.
Next.
Interview imeisha. Nimepata job.
Next.
They're kind of making it seem as if the house helps are asking for unreasonable things, but truly they all just like seemed like quite normal requests. Like nothing that was said was outrageous, but they made it seem so crazy. Like another thing that people do is deny their house helps Wi-Fi or not let them watch TV. Like I've heard about that because sometimes our house helps was like they were so scared to watch TV. Like my mom would not. I was just like, yeah, my mom doesn't care. Like you can do you, girl. Life without entertainment is torture. Boredom is literally a torture tactic. Taking IDs away. Don't understand that. These are people who should be able to live at their own whim. I don't understand the whole taking away identification. My last chapter, before I die of exhaustion, is gonna be on patriarchy. Of course, as an African feminist, the essential thing that you must learn is that socio-economic class matters when it comes to misogyny, and that the higher your socio-economic standing is, the less you are impacted by African patriarchy. Money will never absolve you of the crime of being a woman, but it will cushion things. In season 1, the person who is severely affected by misogyny is a working class woman, of course. Silprosa deals with an abusive alcoholic husband at home.
Sitaki fujo. Fujo? Hautaki fujo? Utakipata fujo? Utakipata fujo kama hujaniletea pesa. Nipatie pesa. Nipatie pesa.
And she couldn't leave him. And this is understanding how capitalism affects black masculinity. And when a man is working class, the more emasculated they feel, the more likely they are to be violent at home just to have some sort of control. And Silprosa is still with him, even though he does nothing to fend for the children. He body shames her. He's violent and insults her in front of the kids, you know, just giving them the amazing gift of generational trauma. And what's super interesting about this is another pillar of patriarchy that shows up, which is centering of marriage in African women's lives. We're gonna see how this ties back to Silpi's situation. And this cuts across all socioeconomic classes. And this is personified through Phoebe. Phoebe is seen as the bitter cat lady who doesn't have a man. And this is brought up by Vanessa, by her mother, by literally Silprosa. Silprosa is in a terrible marriage, but patriarchy prevails so much that she is so proud to have a man because any man is better than no man. And let me talk about beauty politics at this point. And if you watch my video on oppression through beauty, we discussed how the higher you go up in class, the more of performing beauty in a certain way is expected of you. The female employers are always dressed up. Vanessa, Phoebe, like that's always dressed up, even when they're not going anywhere, whereas the house helps dress up when they have off, and she's always like unshaven with hairy armpits, wears whatever clothes she likes and feels good, while Vanessa only wears clothes from Milan and is super particular about being enchained. About being enchained. And here, let me highlight the physical differences between Vanessa and Phoebe, because this ties back into the centering of marriage. Vanessa is always bragging about getting mange, about keeping mange, a bum nigga. And Phoebe is a thick, dark-skinned woman. She's very beautiful, but Vanessa is petite, lighter skin. She's not light-skinned, but she has lighter skin than Phoebe. And I think that even if the casting directors didn't want to show that difference, I believe that it was an inherent bias that was had and came out as an observation on society. And this centering of marriage is so prevalent in African society in general, raising women to be wives and utao alini. Daudi Kabaka literally made a song and says on msichana wa elimu, msichana wa sura nzuri, kitu gani kinakufanya usiolewe, elimu unayo ya kutosha hata ngambo ukaenda ukarudi. A woman's worth is getting a husband. Losing mange to a lighter-skinned toned woman, yeah, I'd be mad as hell. I'd be mad as hell. Even when middle class women are moving forward with the feminist pillars, you know, getting a good job and getting more educated, having a husband was still in the books. And unfortunately, I don't see it changing, because having a boyfriend and that dude becoming a husband and being this picket fence nuclear family unit is still so rampant in Kenyan society. I'm not saying that I don't believe in love. Like, I'm probably like, you know, the biggest hopeless romantic, but, you know, it's a bit naive. I don't know. I just feel like it's nothing to celebrate when you get, like, like you shouldn't have a wedding, but it's just like, yeah, like, you know, you have a boyfriend. So, you know, like, don't live your whole life trying to get one, trying to get a husband or trying to get a boyfriend. And in season 1, episode 7, Mange tells Vanessa that she needs to be a wife, even though he married her knowing she works.
Vanessa, you need to be a wife now. This thing of every time of telling me that I don't know you're traveling, I don't know international flights, I don't know job. I don't want to hear that anymore. You are a wife. You need to be at home. Guys need you. I need you too.
It's my job. And you know very well I'm working hard.
This is why I tell left-leaning men that they need to let go of this dream of like a picket fence, like, you know, picket fence perfect wife. Because for men, it's usually so hard to let the women have agency. That shows up as well in household matters for both middle class and working class women. It's them who take care of the household. Like, the men don't care about who the new house help is. Mange was literally running his mouth because he was tired of being an involved parent partner. And that's how black men are raised. They don't do housework. They don't hold children. And in both cases, Vanessa and Silpi both work. It's not like the husband is providing alone. And yet the man is somehow seen as a prize. Yeah, but that was my analysis. Thank you all for watching. The next video is going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. It literally brings me such immense joy to think about it. Like, I love thinking about the next video. I will see y'all on the next one. Thank you.